So, funny story is that I was about to say in one of my scripts that Crescenta reminds me a lot like Star Butterfly. And then I decided to actually read her chapter. Some may already know where I'm going with this. Alright, what is happening, my dear Starverse fanatics? And today we need to talk about these three princesses: Festivia the Fun, Dirhenia the Heaped, and Crescenta the Eager. Okay, some of you probably already noticed this by now, but I kinda paused when I said Dirhenia. I think it's Dirhenia. I think that's how you pronounce it, so my bad. First, we have our good old Festivia the Fun, who loves partying, spamming Twitter, denying Omnitraxis for making peace with monsters, and more details that I'll be mentioning within the video at random moments that'll fit in with my discussion. And now that Festivia's out of the way, let's move on to how things are going on for both her children. Obviously, just by simply comparing their very own portraits, you would assume that Crescenta is the better princess of the two. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly why you must never judge a book merely by its cover, and title as well, if you want to be technical. So now that we've gotten introductions out of the way, I believe it's time to jump right into it. I've decided to start off with Dirhenia since she was the princess before Crescenta, and yes, she is indeed one of the children of Festivia the Fun, which is quite ironic, I know. Now, let me read an excerpt from Dirhenia's chapter. My mom is all like, "Dirhenia, you gotta start to write in this book," and I was like, "I don't want to write in it, can I just draw balls?" Anyway, she was like, "No." And that sums up her chapter for the most part, I'm afraid. And I'm not joking, that's really what it says. Here's a picture of it. I'm not joking when I make this script up. Apparently her main talent is drawing circles, and that's pretty much underestimated because many people would love to have that talent. Do you want to know how difficult it was to draw an eye's pupil in the 2nd grade? Huh? Do you want to know? That was torture. But on a serious note, she isn't necessarily labeled as a dumb princess nor an intelligent one according to her stats. And some of her very last entries before the title of becoming queen was stripped from her was this: "If your mom is all, 'Oh my word, what did you do to your wand?' you can just be like, 'Whose wand, mom?' and she'll be like, 'Your wand,' and you can just be like, 'Yeah, that's what I thought. My wand. I do whatever I want to it.'" This is kind of like a run-on sentence. How am I supposed to say all this? "What are you gonna do, mom? Give my wand to Crescenta?" Yeah, so my mom gave the wand to Crescenta. And so I guess that means it's time to move on to Crescenta the Eager, cause boy does she have some serious issues. I mean, you really have to read her chapter to really know what kind of character she was. Do not go on her appearance. I mean, Glossaric, after a while of being with Crescenta, admitted to personally preferring her sister. Crescenta says that her sister was simple-minded, that the only true talent she possessed was drawing balls, that she knew her destiny to become queen was bound to be, especially after sneaking into her own sister's room. And by the way, it was in order to steal the wand and try it out for herself, and come on, she was really overdoing it with showing off her wand and accomplishments, stating that she was the better person overall. For example, as the younger sister, it wasn't a given I'd be queen, even though it was so obvious that Dirhenia wasn't meant to be queen. I hate to say it, no she doesn't, but the truth is that some people are just shining stars and others are sad, endless black holes of nothingness. The thing that caught me off guard the most was how Crescenta ended up using the same happy-go-lucky horse as Dur had, who wasn't exactly the most joyful of the bunch. And yes, it is true, Dur's horse was actually one of the most cheerful horses of them all, and that wasn't Festivia's. Festivia's horse, on the other hand, died because Dur didn't take care of it, apparently. And not only that, let me not forget to let you all know that both Crescenta and her mother Festivia use magic to hide their depressive state and exhaustion in case you were an obsessive party animal. Plus, Crescenta was also quite prejudiced against the monsters as well. Guess it runs in the family since mainly Hekapoo and the rest of the MHC raised Festivia. And this was after they had lied, stating that both Shastacan and Eclipso were her parents and claimed that both of them died in the mouth of a monster. Plus, I'm confident that Glossaric tried to warn Festivia, but yet she decides to overlook her past apparently. No wonder why Festivia wasn't rated as very wise. And of course, the same thing can be said about Crescenta for the most part. There was even a point in time during her ruling where she felt as if the only reason why she wasn't making much friends was because of a successful journey as a lonesome one. Plus, I think she deeply missed her sister Dur in the end after she had left to be with a guy named Chad, who also was pretty dull himself. But let's be honest with each other, Dur was awfully boring, but at least she expressed how she felt about certain things in a way and wasn't some fake washed out tryhard queen like Crescenta. And Crescenta became so jealous as to where she tried to make it law for humans not to be able to have a tent in public after a certain amount of time. And mind you, this was after seeing how happy her sister Dur and Chad were inside of a tent in the Rose Garden coming back from dating. Crescenta during her ruling also didn't even attempt to aid the monsters by taking part in cleaning up their side of the land. By the way, it's revealed again that Seth of all monsters is still a part of the wars. Later on, we find out that instead of simply fixing the monster living conditions herself, she decided to practically arrange a rigged campaigning election. And guess what? The main candidates were Pema, Avarius, and Seth himself. So, in order for Pema to succeed, Crescenta even blatantly admits to purposely rubbing Seth's reputation into the dirt, therefore allowing Miss Avarius to win. So, that explains Little's parents becoming the rulers of the Monster Kingdom. She also made up these extremely odd spells, including the spell Star used to heal Marco's arm, then affected him. A spell that makes everyone around you itch and create a shining star at the same time, tie your shoes while setting anything in the background on fire? What the heck? How is that useful? The ability to take away a ponyhead's ability to fly, turning her own sister into an actual real wolf, turning the skin off a squirrelicorn's body inside out, and many more. And by the way, when I say many more, I mean thousands more she made up that are just incredibly asinine. Her chapter pretty much ends with her last spell that explains the ability to feel as if 4 minutes of sleep lasted for 8 hours. And the next queen, Rhina the Riddled, even mentions that she didn't even have interest in becoming queen herself, but her mother passed down the title in order for her to keep up with the organizing of her many books of spells in the royal library. And all that's nice, but my thoughts are, how in the heck did Crescenta find a husband with that kind of attitude? Oh my gosh, she is just something else. And that just about does it for Festivia and the beginning of a new legacy and Mewni's rulings. I personally blame Hekapu for the most of this outcome and all this mess they call the Queens of Mewni. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily label them as Queens of Mewni in particular. They barely contributed to their own land, let alone the monsters. After Eclipse's crystallization and Festivia's lie of being born royalty and the Magic High Commission of all people taking over, I really do truly blame Hekapu. However, I do have some sympathy for Omnitraxis apparently. And I really would like to mention this for a second time in this video. Omnitraxis seemed to want to make peace with the monsters during Festivia's rulings while the war was going on. And I can only imagine how much better Mewni would have been if she would have listened to Omnitraxis or just simply Glossaric at the moment. Even Glossaric wasn't really that much into it. And when it comes to Mewni and their people, sure, Crescenta had a lot of contribution to spells in the library, but for the most part, they were not useful at all. And none of the princesses, especially Festivia, thought it not appropriate to do a little bit of researching behind their own family's true origin. Of all of them, after thoroughly reading their chapters for hours, I appreciated Dur the most. And it may not have seemed like it, but Dur was the only one to ever just simply settle down, fall in love, not rush life, and stop becoming so petty about everything. Despite her interesting handwriting and the attitude towards people other than Chad, but that's for another story. And with all that being said, I hope you all found this informative and something that might correspond with Season 4. Because I feel as now that both Eclipsa and Globgor have a chance of ruling, things should be revealed. And seriously, when are we going to see the secrets inside of Selena's wand?